Gupta, and this is my presentation on how I connected the database to the user interface. So for this task I've used HTML for creating the form UI, and the database I've used MySQL, and for the connection I've used PHP. And so for that I've used the web server package, which is the SAMP web server package. So I've installed SAMP, and so SAMP has got MySQL database and the Apache web server. So and then so this is the simple form. This is the simple form I've created created using HTML. Now let me show you this. This is the form I've used, and let's go to the code. In HTML I have created the fields which users can input data, and then this data will there's a submit button, and on click of the submit button it will call this validate form. So I've used JavaScript for the validation, and this is the validation of mandatory fields, and also the validating the email format. And on click on for the action, this refers for the PHP file I've created. And in the PHP file, initially I have established the database connection, and so these parameters are actually based on my database configuration. So let me show you my database, the database I've created. So using the PHP I've created the database, and this is the DB Connect database, and then I've created the user table. So this is the simple form where users are created. So the user data are saved in this table. So these are few data records I've added for testing, and then so once I establish the connection, and then I had to retrieve data from the form. So here I've retrieved it using the post method, and then store it in these variables. And for a PHP level validation, I have entered this validation where it checks if the mandatory fields are filled, and then an error will be displayed if not. After that, this is the insertion of the database, the SQL query, where data will be inserted to the database. And then and then of course the results are checked. If it's success, this will be true, and then the user record will be inserted. So so here there are already some records added. So if you go to the user form, if I submit initially without adding any information, so as per the database also, these show you the structure of the database. So here the first name, last name and email are actually mandatory. So I need to add those data. So let's see what happens if I do not add data. So I have added the validation, so it shows that I need to add mandatory fields before I submit. So let me check the database if anything is added. So since there was a validation and the data was not validated, the data was not entered, so there won't be any data records added to the database. And if I go back, let's add a name. The address, phone number, and let's say I added an incorrect email address, and if I submit, it says that the email is invalid. Yeah, so this information I entered will not be added to the database as well, since the information were not correct. So let's add a so let's add a valid email format, and all the information are entered. So if I submit now, the user record has been inserted, and if I go to the database and refresh, should see the information added in here. So this is my presentation on how I implemented the connection between the database and the interfaces. So thank you very much.